February 1998 brought cold weather to the city. I majored in philosophy, which fascinated and challenged me as a young, enthusiastic thinker. I debated Christians on their faith often. Christian buddies and I shared ideas. I rented an apartment with a classmate. We fought one night. Two of our contrasting lifestyles. We often fought. I left the place that night after these grievances exploded. One of my classmates lived in a nearby apartment, so I looked for him. I discovered him and his pals drinking, talking, and listening to music at his place. I relaxed and relieved stress at their gathering. My judgment deteriorated as alcohol filtered into my thinking. No idea I drank so much. I wanted to use the bathroom downstairs eventually. My legs weakened while descending the stairs. I attempted to stay balanced, but alcohol made me fall immediately. I felt like the world spun when I fell. I felt extreme agony after each flight of steps. Finally, my head hit the wall. I woke up in the hospital. I saw fear on the faces of many individuals around my bed. I had more brain scans and testing after the doctor assessed my injuries. The paramedics brought me into a room, causing bodily discomfort and tension. I heard a low sound as the scanner rotated around my head. Later, I felt like I was entering another world, that I was floating higher. I departed my body while the medical professionals worked. I felt tranquility instead of pain. When I woke up, I was on a bed. The bed was the only thing in the room. I couldn't discern the light source in the bright room. I spotted a door with a unique radiance that stood out from the other rooms. I stretched out and carefully opened the door out of curiosity. I felt a strange suction, like an invisible force drawing me out. Lost balance briefly. Finally, I touched down on grass. The sunlight made the grass look lively, and the gentle wind gave me a fresh feeling. It was strange to see only grass and beautiful sky without buildings or streets. My feet felt one with nature as I explored the lush grass. After over a little hill, a group materialized in front of me. They were dressed in black. My footsteps paused, and I felt unusual tension and terror. My parents appeared as I approached. They had red, bulging eyes, and my mother was sobbing. I was horrified to see my funeral. My name and birthday were on the cemetery monument, and the coffin was draped in white flowers, which shocked me. This discovery confused and depressed me. Unsure of what transpired, my feelings were jumbled. I approached my parents to talk. No matter how hard I shouted out and touched them, they didn't seem to see me. Crying continued. I was dead to them. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't cross this invisible barrier and tell them I was alive, hug them, and soothe them. The cemetery's residents slowly fled, leaving me alone. I glanced at my tombstone with my prior name and birthday handwritten on it. I was moved by the scene. My hand went through my body when I tried to touch it. It felt like I was invisible. An overwhelming force drew me back to the hospital. I imagined lying on a white bed. I was pale, and physicians and nurses were hurrying through the halls. At some point, the doctors exited the room individually. I heard a doctor say, "We had lost him," which sent me into deep anguish and despair. One doctor stood motionless by my bedside, his eyes showing frustration. I approached him to tell him I was okay. However, I was outside reality and could not engage with him. A final doctor departed the room. My soul again rose uncontrollably at this instant. Through the hospital ceiling, I entered a weird realm. A beautiful light filled the air with calm and tranquility. This appeared like an unending energy-filled universe. My soul received a great energy. I was no longer bound by substance, time, or space. I felt light and free. I looked at my arms carefully and saw that they were still there, but their texture was different. They were made of pure, bright white air that produced a soothing radiance. That seemed like pure energy. I felt like I was part of the universe rather than alone. I felt other souls and blurred the universe-me border. A brighter light approached me suddenly. It was bright like the sun. Unable to perceive the scene, I heard a calm but forceful male voice. His speech was authoritative and wise. The man informed me I couldn't continue because someone made a mistake and put me here. He told me I had to finish my mission on Earth before continuing my voyage. His voice was gentle and his words wise. I learned the meaning and responsibility of my life and the mission on Earth from him. After this man's voice faded, I felt a force draw me back to earth, my familiar reality. I woke up in a dark, cold room. The faint lights cast creepy shadows in the dismal surroundings. In contrast to the vibrant environment I had seen previously, this sight disheartened me. The air around me smelled foul. I saw chilly metal devices and outdated medical equipment in the room. I was certain I was in a morgue. I struggled to stand. My forehead sweated and my heart raced. I realized I had to leave this dreadful location immediately. The morgue corner had a broken trash can on the floor. With all my effort, I pounded the garbage can on the table, hoping someone outside would hear and alert the medical staff to help me escape. When footsteps appeared outside the door, I knew my efforts had paid off. A paramedic approached the morgue looking panicked and confused. My next awakening was 4 days later. It astonished and perplexed me. I didn't know what happened, why I lost consciousness, or how I woke up. I lay in a spotless, white hospital bed with lovely pillows. Unlike the other morgue, the room was clean and bright. The room was warm from sunlight. I reflected on my past while I laid in bed. A doctor entered while I was thinking. The doctor told me I was hospitalized for emergency management of a major head injury. In my coma, my heart stopped beating. He called me a medical miracle and great survivor. My mother entered the room then. She opened her worried eyes and smiled as she saw me waking up. Her tears clouded her eyes as she clutched my hand at bedside. Shivering, she murmured, "Son, you're awake. I prayed for you." She massaged my hair to calm my unease. Sat next to my mother at home, I told her everything. I had hospital experience. My mother listened calmly, amazed to every word I uttered. She held my hand strongly and looked awestruck. "My son, what an incredible thing you have gone through," my mother exclaimed. "I cannot imagine how lonely I would be without you. I believe God noticed your strength and bravery and refused to let you go. You returned to me at a crucial time, a miracle." Her tears fell as she held me. My mother thanked God wholeheartedly, believing only He could have saved me when my heart stopped beating. I quietly listened to my mother's comments and felt her faith and commitment. Although I didn't believe like my mother, I knew her love and caring. I'm glad God sent me back to my mom so we can live together. Since then, I've shared my faith and love. I trust God to guide me throughout my life. This incident made us realize how fragile life is and inspired me to love and respect others.